Everybody. Lisa, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Board of Trustees for the Village of Cambridge, our meeting of June 27th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Trustee Breinig.
Here.
Franklin. Whitmer.
Here.
Hollenbeck. Here. Chris.
Here.
Phelps.
Yep.
McNally.
Here. Okay, if we can stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Lisa, has this meeting been properly posted?
It has been posted in the upper and lower levels of the Amundsen Community Center, the Cambridge Post Office, Badger Bank, and the village website.
All right, thank you. We have some special guests here this evening, and I'm going to move right on to item 4 of our agenda. We have the Cambridge High School men's golf team, and Vern, can you come up and introduce the players, please? Come on, you're an assistant coach, so.
Oh, wow.
First, we will. But first of all, what happened? What is so unusual about this year?
One state.
Okay.
We brought the silver home last year. We brought the gold home this year.
Fantastic. Okay.
I mean, these boys work their butts off.
All right.
Golf. I mean, if you're out at the country club at all, you'll see these guys there all the time. Even on men's night, which they shouldn't be.
All right. Okay. Gentlemen, can you introduce yourselves, please?
I'm Kian, Crystal Flores. I'm a junior, now going to my junior year.
And medalists,
So,
from the state.
individually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Cade. I'm going into my senior year.
All right.
I'm Frank. I'm going into my sophomore year. And I'm Nick Buckman. I just graduated high school.
All right.
We're missing one. We're missing Matt Buckman, who was our number 4 player this year. So
Okay.
he had to go play basketball.
All right. And then, Vern, what do you do with the team?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
These guys are too good. They don't need me.
Right. But when you hang around with them, what do you do?
Watch them, drive them to games, try to help them, teach them a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are the assistant coach, if I'm
Assistant
not
coach, yeah.
mistaken. All right.
Second year.
All right. Guys, we are so proud of you, and thank you for doing a wonderful job representing Cambridge throughout the state of Wisconsin, winning the state for golf in our division. That is something else. Wonderful job, and we wish you nothing but luck or nothing but success in the years to come. We can shake your hands as you go through it. But
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question for Mr. Buckman.
Congratulations.
So, Nick, what did you,
Congratulations.
what did you do, what did you change from last year to this year? Congrats. To go from silver to gold?
Oh, we really just really worked on it in the off season.
Okay.
I don't know. Is that? Yeah, I guess our minds. I mean,
Different mindset?
yeah, we knew what we had to do, kind of.
I gotcha.
Like we had more experience.
All right, congrats, Nick. Gentlemen,
Okay.
They were there at all the meets. They were fabulous.
Okay.
that was the motto, right? In the
You
moment?
can just leave that here if you'd like. I can take that home with me.
If you want to go back there, you can run.
We want to also acknowledge the parents
Yes.
who did an incredible job of the support of these young men. Thank you. They're great citizens here of Cambridge High School, and we appreciate so much your involvement. So good job.
Thank you all. All right.
Thank you. Let's move on. Any other public comments? Anybody care to make a statement here of anything? Yes, sir. We're going to give you 2.5 minutes. If
Wow.
you can identify
I'll
yourself.
take all that, yes, sir.
Right.
Sean Dotson with Dancing Goat. We've got an agenda item today, so I just wanted to make a public comment. First and foremost, we want to be good stewards of the community. So there's an agenda item regarding sewer and wastewater management, some spikes that you guys have had, along with the Oakland Community Center. That is our foremost commitment. We want to be good stewards of the community. We've had a wastewater meter on our facility in previous years. I think it was about 3 years ago. It was before my time. I think there were some technical issues, some process issues, but that kind of fell offline. So I just want to provide that context. I know we have some new board members. Really what we're looking for is just clarity on what the process is, what the cost implications, who are the folks accountable to maintain this process, and what the length of time is. So we would love some clarity on that. We've maintained a good relationship with Steve at the wastewater center. We have an internal process as well. If we feel anything that we've done may impact downstream wastewater treatment, we notify Steve. For us to see this, that there was a spike in May, we did not receive any notification, so to see this board item was a bit of a surprise for us. We're hoping to maintain that relationship. I have had direct conversations with Steve. We understand that there was not testing done when the spike occurred. And so to see in the notes from last week that it's expected that it came from the distillery, when Steve, the guy that's on the ground floor, does not have that same feeling, it's a little challenging. I understand we're the largest consumer in the community, so I understand that. But we're hopeful that there's not wrongful assumptions made on our business. And again, we want to be good community partners here. So look forward to the conversation. Really just looking for transparency, communication, partnership, and yeah, thank you for the time.
All right.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak at this time? Okay, come on up, introduce yourself.
My name is Janet Evans, and before I begin, I just want to make it crystal clear that I'm not representing the fire department in any way. The comments I'm about to make are from myself as a taxpayer of this community, and I do not represent any other person or entity during my public comment. It has now been 7 months since the pending vote to change the IGA. In this time frame, there has still been no open meeting or forum to provide a reasonable explanation as to why these changes are being considered and how it will impact us taxpayers. In fact, there has been no regular meeting of the Cambridge Fire and EMS Commission since November of 2022, which was one of the violations that are occurring under the current IGA. A public meeting was discussed months ago that never occurred. The only thing that has happened since this started is continuation of trying to destroy the reputation of the Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department as an organization and many individuals within the department that continue to serve you while under attack. The first attack was against Terry Johnson, who was the sitting fire chief at the time, about alcohol he allowed to be stored at the fire station, as it had been for years to be used for holiday parties and trap shoots. The next were complaints filed at the state level against several specific personnel on the fire department. One complaint filed January of 2023, and the second set of complaints filed in March of 2023. All investigations were completed by the State of Wisconsin Health Services Department, and a letter was received on May 18th, 2023, indicating they were unable to sustain any violations, no actions will be taken, and the department deemed the investigations as closed. This is on top of the many closed sessions that have taken place. The most recent, May 11th, where all trustees of the municipalities were in attendance. The Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department membership had a choice regarding the selection of their fire chief. At their annual election in December, the membership of the Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department voted unanimously for their existing chief to lead them. If the nominating committee or membership did not feel comfortable with who had the ability to lead them, they would have sought the commission's assistance or guidance. There were accusations of the Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department being toxic and dysfunctional. What facts surround any of these accusations? The volunteers of the fire department continue to respond in sufficient numbers and timely to any calls they are paid to. There has not been a time when another district that has needed to respond to a fire call because our volunteers were not available. They continue to be fiscally responsible and transparent. They have continued to invite any one of you to come observe them at the fire station and welcome conversation with you regarding how this change will affect the Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department. If any of you attended the Memorial Day breakfast fundraiser that served 911 people and observed the fire department team in action, it was far from any of the above accusations. The closed session agenda items specifically related to the organizational structure of the IGA should have been an open session agenda item. Lastly, was it really necessary to have 3 Dane County officers at or around the meeting site on May 11th? Who is being the bully and trying to intimidate? Why has a public meeting that was talked of at the end of this meeting not been scheduled yet? It is my understanding that this meeting is to present the financial aspect of the changes of the IGA. My speculation is this has not happened because there's absolutely no way that they will be able to present a true financial analysis reflecting a cost savings or even close to a break even for this change. The equipment needs of the fire department will not change. The costs pertaining to maintaining of vehicles or the building will not change. Nothing will change except for the huge increase in personal expense and other expenses related to funding a full-time fire department. Besides the hourly rate that will be needed to be paid for union employees along with overtime when working more than 40 hours a week, you will need to calculate the increase in benefit expenses, including but not limited to health, dental, retirement, to name a few. And then you must consider other expenditures that will be necessary. Where will all of these full-time firefighters be housed? A new station that was recently rejected in 2 separate referendums, and other related expenses will be added to the unwarranted expenditures that none of us can afford in our current financial climate. If the medics are fighting a fire on a fire call, who is tending to the potential patient or patients from the fire, the rehab or medical needs of our fire personnel, or who will be available for an additional medical emergency that may occur at the same time as a fire call? The changes that are being presented are taking the shape of large city fire EMS districts and is not needed in a community of our size. Perhaps to hire an unbiased consultant to provide hard numbers of true cost projections for the proposed changes and how it will affect each of us is warranted. The spending continues to be done with while this decision is pending, is spending out of control. Besides the literal thousands of dollars being spent on continued lawyer fees, since the end of December, the EMS has purchased over $32,000 in fire gear, in addition to money paid for SCBA masks and air tanks, all designed for firefighters, and money for these types of items are continuing to be spent monthly.
Okay, I'm going to have to cut you off there, Jana. We're beyond the 2.5 minutes.
Okay?
I yield my time to Jana, 2.5 minutes.
You know, our policy is that the president is allowed to set a time limit, and we don't really have a policy for one speaker to yield to another. We want to make it fair.
So you'd rather me just continue reading hers?
We want to make it fair. That would be fine. We want to have a consistent policy that applies to everyone. So if that's how you want to do it,
Well, that
that'll
just
be
doesn't
fine.
make any sense. 2.5 minutes is 2.5 minutes, no matter who's doing it. Makes no sense.
So you can start there. Who has authorized this?
Okay, who has authorized this spending? Any of you? It is not in the EMS budget that was presented in October to the municipalities. In fact, their uniform budget line item for the year is 2023 is $5,500. To date, none of those have already received fire gear or getting fitted for fire gear have applied for the Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department. They are going to class to become firefighters, which is being authorized by someone other than the fire department that is costing additional taxpayer dollars. If the class enrollment was initiated by the Cambridge Fire Department because the individual was a member of the Cambridge Fire Department, there is no cost to us taxpayers. If they claim they attained grant money to pay for any of the above expenditures, why would they not use that grant money for something that is really needed to function as an EMS service to reduce our tax burden? The spending is not only a serious concern regarding the delay in making a decision of the proposed change. The dissension between the Cambridge Fire EMS Commission, Cambridge EMS, and Fire Department continues to grow. The continued lack of transparency, attacks, and continued alleged allegations against the Cambridge Fire Department and specific personnel from some of those sitting on the commission are wrong, untrue, unhealthy for our community, and has created an environment of no trust. There are times when EMS personnel are disregarded direct orders from the Cambridge Fire Department. Chiefs, while en route to a fire call. This state indicates all fire calls are led directly by the chief of the fire department. Those that refuse to follow protocols, directive of those that are in authority, or are going rogue will result in someone getting hurt or worse. They are placing themselves and others in significant danger. With that said, if they are acting in this manner, is the EMS, fire department, or the district liable? How can it be that 120 years of Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department has run smoothly, and now magically in the last 6 months, all of the above is occurring? There seems to be a pattern here, and I believe if you all take a moment and view all of the facts, and I do encourage you to fact check anything told to you, you will see that our Cambridge Fire Department functions just fine, and this is really about a person wanting a job. I implore you to take action now, get it on your agenda, and vote down the proposed IGA changes. Do not wait any longer. It has been 7 months. A clear line of responsibility for the Cambridge EMS and Cambridge Fire Department needs to be defined. This will prevent unnecessary additional spending and to provide district direction for each organization as to what your expectations are
Okay,
for
I'm
the
gonna have
previous
to call
tasks
the
they are
time.
to perform.
All the time.
And I've been on this board. We cannot let the spending continue like this. You all know that. So please, you need to pay attention, and things need to be in open session when it's necessary.
All right. Okay, are there any other individuals here that would like to speak in public comments? Okay, I'm going to close this portion of the meeting, and we're going to move on. Approval of the consent agenda. Anybody have a chance to do that? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right.
Second.
Okay, any comments? Any questions, concerns? Staff? Okay, all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. Okay, moving on. Reports. I'll start off here. The one thing I did a number of things, but this last week on June 21st, I did get together. I went out to the Lions Club, and I wanted to thank them, not just for what they did in this last parade. You know, it was very well organized. Wanted to thank them for the gratuitous gesture of providing hot dogs and brats up at the Veterans Park. They did not charge for that. I thank them for, you know, all that they're doing. They're involved with Santa Claus coming in and up at Veterans Park with the fire department, and they put that on. They do things in support of the Fire Fest, the barbecue that we have that'll be coming up. I think also they mentioned something about even Maxwell Street Days, that they were going to be helping out a little bit with that. So I just wanted to thank them because they are a great community member, and I did that on June 21st, and you know, that was the one group that I did meet with. Okay, moving on, library board. What can you tell us here? Anything, Tim?
Let's see. I got some stuff here.
You can just hit the highlights on this.
Talked about budgeting, and then they went through their numbers for like the past year. Books checked out under this category and that category. What they plan to do with some money for programs over the summer and into the school year. Talked about different pay scales that need to be adjusted. Let's see, Friends of the Library, first full week of August is Book First event that they're having. So check their website. Anybody can donate books any time of the year, they said, to bring them in, present them to who's ever at the front desk, and they should be able to take them. They talked about updating the village library handbook, because it seems to be outdated. I think they said it was from like 2010 or somewhere right around that area.
Okay.
They got some grant money for performances that happen at the library.
Okay.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Was-
Oh, they talked about the repairs that has to be done to the Havoc system. And it was kind of expensive, but it needed to be done because it's in disrepair.
Was that Joan's last meeting? Was she at that one, or was the new librarian?
They both were there.
Okay, and
Yes.
I think that was Joan's last meeting.
I believe it
right?
was. I think it
Okay.
was more of Joan walking through the new librarian through the
Sure.
process.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep. That's all I got, sir.
Okay. We're going to move on to Licensing Committee.
Oh, that's me too.
Yes.
The items are on the agenda, by the way. So they'll just be addressed.
Cover it later, maybe?
No, we can do it now.
Well, just give us an update on the meeting, and then
Yep.
we'll get back.
The update on the meeting was that we discussed all the Class A, B, A beer liquor, B beer, and C wine licenses along with the tobacco, and we didn't see anything or any reason why not to approve to go forward
Okay.
to the big board.
Right,
So
okay. We'll get
that's forthcoming.
Good. We'll talk about it a little later tonight then. All right, it's licensing. Director of Public Works, Mr. Todd Lord here. If he is, can he step up, sit down and give us an update?
Todd Lord, Public Works for Cambridge. We're working with Firefest people right now on closing roads and having signs ready for them. We're still painting lines. We actually have to get more paint. We finally ran out of paint. We're actually rolling right along. We're still watering trees in the village areas and terraces to, help them out, the small ones, the small trees. We're working on, I'm having 1901 work on the light up here on the north side of Pleasant Street. That's been out for a while. I tried putting batteries in it, and it's obviously more than batteries. It probably needs a new harness and stuff like that. The guy says you probably shouldn't be doing that. You're not an electrician, so we'll let the electrician do that. And for now, I put a sign up there on that intersection, because I noticed that people, when they come out off the north side, that it is kind of a blind side for anybody coming around the corner there. So now when they come around the corner, at least they got a fighting chance. And Jay's doing really well. He's evaluating trees and figuring out what we need to do, and we're going to be doing stump removal, and we're printing up the park for Firefest.
All right.
Anything else?
I was going to ask you something. Paint for striping?
Yeah,
Is
line
there-
painting for the roads.
Yeah, is there a shortage of paint, or?
No, we happened to run out. We had a stockpile and we used it all, and we're buying more.
Okay.
We have it coming this week, so next week will be another round of line painting. We found out that we are responsible now for Highway B center lines and Highway PQ center lines.
Sure we are. Yep.
But we could contract that out, but we decided that we're gonna give it a shot. We'll just do it a block at a time and see how it goes. And if the lines don't look that great, then maybe we should contract out, because it's a long way up PQ. B's not so bad, but PQ is a long way.
Good for you guys for trying.
Well, we're trying to save money.
Yep,
That's
I
what
like
we're
it.
trying to do.
That's good.
How are you doing on brush pickup? How's that going?
We're done. We did it all. Today was brush pickup day.
Okay, and that is now every 2 weeks?
Yep.
Second and fourth
Yep,
Tuesdays.
second and fourth.
All right, and no problems, nobody's,
Well, you get phone calls, people are like, well, what's going on? What's happening? I've had a few phone calls today, and I was like, if we haven't been there, we will be there. It is Tuesday, so.
others?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we talked about that concrete or pile.
That concrete slab that's working on
Is that
on
where it
the
is?
construction
Okay.
site.
Okay, so does that belong on that Ranget property, or was it on that other
I'm
person's
assuming that
property?
no, it's not on the house property, it is on the construction property.
Okay.
So I don't know if they set that there.
No, it's
or
been there for quite a while, since
probably
we
at
were
least
building.
a year or better then.
Oh, yeah.
Because I
Going on
thought it was a
2.
pile of gravel at one time. I didn't really pay attention to it until you brought it to my attention. I was
Right.
like, I better go look at that.
Yeah, so that's
But
nothing
it
we
is in
need
their
to take care of.
construction zone, so.
Right. So I think maybe Bill Ranget should take care of it. That's his property.
We could only
then.
hope.
Okay.
I have a question, it's either for you or, was an insurance claim made for the Public Works building that the tree fell on?
No, we're gonna replace those. We have replaceable siding pieces.
All right. Anything else for Todd? Okay. Todd, thank you. Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
all the work. Tell the team thanks.
All righty. Let's go to Tammy. Treasurer's report.
In your packet, I provided a budget versus actual up to, or year-to-date for you to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Also been kind of doing some more cross-training, learning some different things in the other departments, utilities and things like that, so moving
right.
along.
Did you see anything in time that you've been here that you're concerned about from a budget versus where we are on any of the items?
Not anything that stuck out to me so far. I haven't gotten too deep into the budget yet, but I will be in the next month or so because we'll be getting close to going into budget time. So I probably, in the next month or so, I'll bring up some things that I think might be a red flag or
As
not.
she prepared this, we did see a couple things that needed journal entries, moving one, from one category to a different. It's like, why is that so out of line? And looking at it, it's like, oh, it was coded wrong. And but
And then what we noticed earlier, if we look at the, you've got right in front of you, up here.
yeah, that top line, the 2023 budget for taxes, obviously was put in incorrectly. Our actual is higher than that, so whatever, we have to go back and look what was expected, so.
I'll go in and change that after.
Yeah. So we did catch that. That'll be updated.
Do you see anything, and I know it's really early, but do you see anything that's coming for the balance of the year that's going to be hitting our cash accounts unusually hard? Do we have enough in reserves? Any expenses that are way out of whack? Because I know it's timing.
Right.
And that's, we talked about this a little bit today, one word of caution looking at this, because certain things, we get payments at certain times of the year for things. Some expenses are only in the winter, only in the summer. So you can't look at it necessarily and say, okay, we're halfway through the year, we should have 50%.
Right.
Because everything doesn't fall on those categories. But
So nothing is coming to your attention right now that's alarming.
Not that I've seen so far. Lisa,
All right.
you know.
yeah, more.
She's
Penny.
updating me on
Yeah.
a lot of things that are coming up, so.
Could you, since the cameras are here, can you let everyone know about our shared revenues?
Yes. Yes, and that was, in the correspondence at the back, the governor did sign a bill last week that will increase shared revenues. The village of Cambridge will be going from, we had been at $59,482. We are going to be getting an additional $58,686 this year, for a total of $118,168, so a 98.7% increase in our state aid. So that will be a huge benefit.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. All right, anything else
Go for public works vehicles that we need to upgrade.
for Tammy here?
Then it's gone.
All right, Tammy, thank you very much. Keep up the good work, and just we'll look forward to next report. So, village office updates, Lisa.
A lot of stuff going on. We just completed our annual workers' comp audit, the CMAR report. Tammy was helping on that. Looking at financial aspects and stuff, along with the consumer confidence report, which was just published in the paper. Working on the safe drinking water loan for well number 3, the fluoride grant and the generator grant. Tied to that, we have a federal unique employer identification number that we need for all these grants, that when we went to get it, it was inactive. It has to be renewed. We received word today finally that we got it reapproved. We've been working for 3 months, 3 weeks, working with the federal government. It has to go through the IRS. It has to go through a different, the other number that has to be approved. You know, are you tied to the Cambridge apartments in Massachusetts? No, we are not, you know. But we got approval today, so luckily for the fluoride and the generator grant, they allowed us to sign off on them, get them in, and then we just have to provide, you know, today I was providing the documentation and it has been reinstated, so those grants have been submitted. All the state reporting of the new employees, WRS and so forth, quarterly reports, the WIDA grant for the Cambridge in Maine. We needed to do some reporting on that. Ongoing things with the bike project, the bike grant, the final easement stuff has been recorded, so we'll begin working with Town and Country on the reimbursements for the state and county grants for that. We have 2 rezones and a conditional use coming up at the next Plan Commission meeting, so all the publications and notifications for those. I just completed the Board of Review training, which state law has changed that. Somebody has to do that every year. I have given the members the material, and we have the videos there so they can watch and do those as well. That's coming up in July 6th. So a lot of different things going on, but we're making progress.
I understand Judy had any complications here or anything?
Do you mean Vicki?
No,
Oh,
just,
she's just out for a couple days.
When is
So
Vicki back?
she goes to the doctor on July 5th, so we'll see if she's released back.
Okay.
and I also wanted to just thank you for the support that you've been giving to Tammy, and asking her about, you know, here's the information that we want to present to the board. Thank you very much. That's, you know, it's good guidance for her to have, and as she's taking over this responsibility. Good job. Okay, anything else for Lisa? All right. Moving on, bills. What do we have, Tammy?
Our first run of bills, $86,265.66. Second run, $1,974.98. So a total of $88,240.64.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $88,240.64.
Second.
All right. We've got a motion and a second. Discussion, questions? Anybody?
Just an observation more than anything else. I found it very interesting. It's the first time I think I've ever seen office supplies line itemed by each individual item. Post-it note, staples, ruled pad, 8x5. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I'm like, oh my gosh, now we know exactly what they had.
And
Oh, I had some of those at home. I
We
could
had
have
a number of different invoices this time because we didn't get stuff, so they gave us a credit, but then resent it with new invoices, so things were broken down more.
Yeah, and it looked like some of them went to the different departments.
Yeah,
Some went to public
split
works, some went to
between
the village, some
water and
went,
sewer
yeah, exactly.
and
So
village.
I was like, wow, now that's a real good detail.
Okay. Other questions? I had one for you here, Tammy, and it's a very small amount, but it is the payment on June 27th to Mega Rentals for the street sign Memorial Day parade. Does that get passed on? How is that working?
It does not at the current time. We don't have in our policy for road closures to pass that on.
Okay.
The village is looking at, ordering some of those signs, so we have them on hand for events when we have to close the roads and.
Okay. So that will discontinue. It was just for the Memorial Day parade? All right.
So we've eaten that cost then for years.
This is the first year we have closed the road through the DOT. In the past, the parade has been short enough that, we just kind of stop it, but now that we're going through the process of closing the road, we need all the detour signs. So this is the first year we've had to do it.
Okay, but it'll be done here. We won't be doing that anymore. Okay, that was the only question I had.
I have one question about the village office cleaning. Are we still in contract with someone that we share that with the library?
Yeah, and this time it's just hers on there. She bills the library and us separately. So she clocks her time at the library and clocks her time here.
Okay.
So it is billed separately.
And when does that expire? Or is it ongoing?
It's ongoing.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? All right, we've got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Franklin, Whitmer.
Yes.
Hollenbeck.
Yes.
Chris. Yes. Phelps.
Yep.
Reinig.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes. All right, bills have been passed. Getting into new business. Item 8A, Village of Cambridge Resolution 2023-07. Lisa or Tim? I'm going to start with Lisa.
This is all of the applications for beer, liquor, wine licenses, cigarette license, all the operators that did come through licensing. They did recommend approval of them all. It is state statute. The licensing year goes from July 1st through June 30th. So time of the year to renew everything.
Any other comments?
No.
Tim?
No, we didn't have any issues.
Okay, anybody want to?
Make a motion? Yeah, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the granting of the alcohol and tobacco licenses as outlined in our
Resolution.
agenda. Thank you.
Okay,
Our packet.
got a motion and a second, no any discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right. Item 8B, Village of Cambridge Resolution 2023-08 regarding the 2022 Compliance Maintenance Annual Report. Lisa?
This is something we have to do by state statute, and the village board needs to pass a resolution. This is for the sewer collection system as well as the finances with it. The report is attached. We did receive A's on both sections.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 Compliance Maintenance Annual Report delineated in Resolution 2023-08.
Second.
All right. Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye for approval.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Lisa, the Village of Cambridge 2022 Consumer Confidence Report.
This is in here kind of as an FYI. This was presented to the Water and Sewer Committee. This is the water report that's required every year. It was recently published in the newspaper for state statutes, and again, no issues found in it.
Okay. Does this need approval then?
No, this was more for
Just for your information? All right. Is there anything, does anybody have any questions on this one?
Nope.
Okay, all righty, thank you. Let's move on. The final pay request for a bike trail. Lisa?
So Town and Country did sign off on the final work for the bike trail. It's $5,221.63.
I'll make a motion to pay Nelson Excavation and Son the amount stated for the final payment for the bike trail.
Second.
Okay.
So now we're just, the bike trail, that, we're just like overseeing the finances of that, right? Or is that?
No.
We're paying that?
We had contracted with Nelson to do, this is still the finishing of the bike trail going out to the vineyards and so forth. They had a few final touches to do in spring. So
Okay.
this is the end of it.
Okay.
And this is where we had the state and the county grants.
So is there any money left, that's where, is there any money left from the state and the county grants, or is that, did it all wash out evenly?
I have to take a look and let's see.
Or pretty close?
I'm assuming its original contract was 625. The total completed was 348. So we may have been a little over. I don't know for sure. I'd have to double check with
Okay.
Brian.
Here's your previous payments right there.
Yeah, we have paid 343 so far. So, yeah.
Could we get like a final sort of accounting on
Yeah.
how that whole project
Yeah.
came out budget-wise?
Yeah.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
That was the only question I had.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please.
Whitmer,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Christ, Phelps,
Yes.
Reinig,
Yes.
Franklin, McNally.
Yes. All right, taking care of that. Next item up here, pay request number 2 for well number 3 project, Mid-City Corporation, $226,380. Recommendation from MSA.
And I will say I had a note on the bill form. Water and Sewer did approve at their meeting last week the first payment. With them meeting once a month, the timing of things, some may come to us, some may come to them. That had to come to them. Everything for the fluoride grant had to be paid in June to qualify for the fluoride grant, so to wait until today wasn't meeting the grant requirements. So, so if we're approving something, we'll share it with Water and Sewer. If they're approving it, it will be shared with the board. But with them meeting once a month, whichever meets the
soonest
timelines, may be coming to us or them for approval, but will always be shared with the other board.
Okay. All right. Anybody care to make a motion on this one?
I make a motion that the second request for $226,380 to Mid-City Corp. by recommendation of MSA get paid.
Okay. We have a second? I'll second. All right. Questions, concerns?
This is slightly unrelated, however, I forgot to mention in the meeting minutes. Could you include a picture of what the building is actually going to look like with the June 20th? If you guys haven't seen it yet, that's what it's going to look like, because I hadn't seen it until a meeting, so. Yeah. This is what you're paying for. Okay.
Well,
All right.
most of what we're paying for is
The insides, but
inside and, yeah, and underground, yeah. So, but
the committee did approve the external materials at their meeting last week, so.
I'm going to poll a favor here. Joe, any concerns on this, that you guys are authorizing this? Anything?
No, this is an ongoing project with obviously the initial start. You're gonna have many pay requests coming in front of you for it, but as far as I heard, things are going pretty well.
Okay.
So just early on.
All right. Okay. Any other concerns? All right. What do you say we do roll call on this one?
Yep, since it's money. Hollenbeck.
yes.
Chris. Yes. Phelps.
Yes.
Brian Eggs.
Yes.
Franklin. Whitmer.
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. And thank you again for MSA overseeing this. Okay. Moving on to item 8F. The Dancing Goat Distillery and requiring them to operate, monitor a sampling analyst device. Recommendation from Water, Sewer, Stormwater Committee. How do we want to handle this one, Lisa?
I could take this one because I did look at our ordinances to see how the process goes here. So I was looking at our ordinance 13.16.220 in case anyone wants to follow along. But upon a recommendation from Water and Sewer, it's up to the village board to authorize any industrial user to test its discharge for certain parameters and to construct and install suitable sampling or other monitoring devices as the board deems necessary. We do have a recommendation from Water and Sewer to go ahead and do that. Mr. Dotson was here asking about who would pay for that, and the ordinance does provide that the sampling should happen at the user's expense, including the plans and the installation. So the board would just tonight make the decision that we should go forward, and then it would be the committee that would approve the plans and what the sampling would actually look like, the methods. And this is something that's required in the Clean Water Act, the testing protocols and the fact of testing where there are concerns. And so our ordinance is just kind of consistent with the Clean Water Act requirements in those testings.
Okay. All right. Any idea how much this might approximate in cost?
Discussed about 6,000 to 7,000.
7,000 is what Steve said.
Okay. All
And
right.
just put a little bit of glue around what you said. There has been a precedence with Melsters. Melsters had to do this before. We required them to give testing, and then Steve Sansbury from COWC said that he's willing to do the testing if samples are brought to COWC.
Okay.
But I believe he's been in contact with Sean about what the anomalies are with spikes that they're receiving. They've been.
Yeah, Chris, I would just clarify, like, I got a call from Joe, I talked to Lisa, I talked to Steve.
Mm.
They noticed a spike, they did not test after that, so it is,
Okay.
you know, unfortunately in the notes, it might be semantics, but for the sewer and water committee to say, we believe it's the distillery.
Right.
And I will clarify, that is what Steve
That's what
Strauss
Steve Strauss on the
presented to the
COWC
committee.
stated.
Yeah.
Steve
Yeah.
from the wastewater center, who is boots on the ground.
Mm.
I spoke with him directly, he said, I'm not suggesting it was you guys, so there does seem to be a bit of a disconnect.
Right.
I understand, we're a good user, it is a big expense, so we're just looking for clarity on what you guys are asking of us, we wanna be good stewards. But there does, you know, there is somewhat of an assumption that's made from the committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, didn't they say that we might have some of the equipment already that could be used?
There was some talk about, we had the old equipment, but that was rather antiquated. It didn't come with a refrigerant. It was something that we have to provide ice for. We had the cover and everything else for it. But Steve Sansbury also said at COWC that they have an extra refrigerated unit, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
There's mention in those notes, it says if it turns out it's not coming from them, it could be returned. Is that confirmed? Or what does that actually mean?
yeah, it's just if we do the testing, you know, it's kind of like the, hey, I want to take your fingerprints just to rule you out analogy. You know, it's, if we do the testing and we find that there's no issues there, it can be removed. We can take it and put it elsewhere.
But isn't,
But they
that's
already
a-
incur a cost.
right, they already incur, plus it's a point in time.
Right.
There may not be an issue at that point in time, but,
Mm.
I mean, Melsters didn't put it in and take it out.
No.
No.
Melsters had it in,
Right.
it was available when we needed to do the testing, then we
And
could go and.
They
do-
actually did
yeah.
regular monthly
There you
testing.
go.
Every month they would bring the reports in
So,
to share.
Yeah, I would just expect that we would probably, if we were to go forward with it, use that same precedence.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we would
probably
use the-
not take it back out.
Yeah.
Because you've already incurred the cost anyway.
Well, and to
Right.
clarify, Steve Strauss did say, you know, this is a fact finding that
Yeah.
the village has to do because the village is getting charged when there are the spikes. They know it's coming from the village side. So a fact finding, you know, and in Steve's words,
Yeah.
it was expected, or not expected, but,
It says that explicitly in the notes, it's expected that it's the distillery, so it's kind of
Yeah.
a tale of two there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
fact
that-
finding, right? And I agree with you guys there, but
Yeah.
for it to be written that it's assumed that it's a distillery,
And-
that's what doesn't sit the best with us, just.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Steve maybe was walking it back a little bit. Maybe, you know, it's that sense that you listen to what you just said and it sounds very accusatory. So then, you know, he said, well, you know, it's just a fact finding. So we want to be able to put the sampler there, do our tests, and then we can take it out if need be. But, you know, again, in hindsight, we should have put quotes around that as Steve Struss from COWC comment. That would have been a little less inflammatory. So for water and sewer chair, I apologize for that.
Oh, so Steve Struss at that point was representing
COWC.
his position on the COWC
he
board.
asked for that to be on the
Got
water
it,
and
got
sewer
it,
agenda as a member of COWC,
COWC, got it.
as
Okay.
a village representative on the COWC.
Now I'm getting where it came from.
Yeah.
And one, oh, go ahead.
Are there any funds, grants, or anything available to the village that we could help with the cost?
Not that I know of. It's not a clean water fund. A lot of the clean water funds, the things that are available to the village are not available to private users. Yeah,
If we were to buy it as a village, funding for it.
Or split the cost?
we could. It does, I mean, our ordinance provides for it to be, for the cost to be by the user, but,
To our
I mean,
benefit,
you
it
could
seems
always.
to me.
I mean, they're trying to be good stewards, and I kind of agree that maybe we could split cost with them if it needs to go in,
It's
which it kind
definitely
of
something
sounds like
water
it
and sewer
should.
we could talk about, you know.
Yeah, and along those lines, it's worth noting that the ordinance also provides that the sampling, the methods, the locations, all of these things can be on a case-by-case basis. So that includes methods, locations, times, durations, and frequencies are to be determined on an individual basis. So you don't have to be concerned about setting a precedent, you know, for one user
got
to
it.
the next.
So since this was my first meeting, I didn't quite understand what they were talking about. And the biological uptick, I asked why it's important, and he said that when it gets to the wastewater treatment facility, it impacts their operations, and therefore that cost gets passed on to the ratepayers. And so they're just trying to figure out where that cost belongs, because they don't feel it belongs with the ratepayers if there is a source of the impact.
Yeah,
The
there's
whole thing
two
is
different
finding where it's
instances
coming
they mentioned here in November and in May, where they got a large organic load that
Yeah.
killed off a lot of their bugs, and they had to spend, I think, $600 to $800 on each instance to put some nitrifiers added to their system, so we can kind of kickstart growing the bugs that eat. Well, I'm not going to get into the gory details of it, but you can imagine. So. Yeah.
The waste.
Yeah, and he said it's usually a couple days after the stuff arrives that the spike or whatever kill
Right.
die-off happens. So that's why he was saying it's important for this testing to be timely, and so they can keep ahead of it. So I agree.
I mean, I would imagine if we choose to go forward with this, that Steve's, COWC Steve.
Sansbury, yeah.
Steve Sansbury would work out with Dancing Goat what all the testing is going to be and all that kind of stuff. Is that the that's what I'm assuming? Is that the assumption of the Water and Sewer Board, Chris? Do you know?
That is that, and then Steve has reached out to Dancing Goat, Sansbury. I think, looking at this from a village board perspective, it might be in our best interest to bring in, have a discussion from Water and Sewer and COWC to have a best way forward, and then we can present that to the Dancing Goat and move forward with it before it comes to the village board. Because there's a lot of unanswered questions on what the cost is going to be, who's responsible for the testing, and whatnot, and we need COWC's input on this. And it seems like we have two Steves that are in polar opposites of what they're putting out. So.
Not to mention the fact that when I asked Steve Struss, what's the impact if something tests too high, what sort of implication is that? And he said, well, there could be a monetary fine that would be imposed on the consumer, or pre-treatment, which again is more cost to the consumer,
Right.
which is, without knowing, I don't know if we can even do that. Can the board, the authority that has to impose these fines? Or?
Only after there were sampling results, but,
Okay.
but yeah, the pre-treatment.
So before I would feel comfortable voting on any of that sort of thing, I'd want more info, I think.
So do we
I think
want
the
to?
board deserves more information.
So do we want to table this for now?
I would like to do that.
Or is the motion from, because the board has to give authority for the Water and Sewer Committee
To do further investigation into this?
with COWC and with the GOAT.
To come back with a cost estimate, for
Right.
example.
Yeah, I think we're kind of putting the cart before the horse on this decision-making so we got to do our due diligence on a water and sewer and meeting with COWC. So we can make a motion that, I'll make that motion if we deem possible, we can bring numbers back to the village board for approval or disapproval. But right now, I think it's in our best interest to meet with COWC and find out exactly what we need before we start, and bringing in the dancing goat as well.
If I could make a recommendation to have Steve from the wastewater center here too, that was part
Yeah,
of
we asked for him to be here tonight,
and
and
he
he
wasn't
couldn't
able.
make it.
agenda item until Monday when we spoke, and he just said, hey, I can't drop my schedule.
Yeah, that's, he had
I
said
think
he
it's very
couldn't.
important for him to be here.
Yeah.
He is the boots on the ground there.
Yep.
And there seems to be, like you said, Chris, a bit of a disconnect, so.
Right. So I just, and I would like to have Steve Sansbury here as a subject matter expert too, because I'm muddling through this and the chemicals and what this is doing. And oh, do we have a question? Yeah.
Well, I can add a little bit to this. This is pretty standard, so if that helps out, but it's not really a penalty for it. It's trying to identify where your source is coming from and being able to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not meant to be like a fine or anything. It's meant more to be like, what is the additional cost?
Mm-hmm.
Every home that generates something is pretty consistent in every community. That's not really anything new. But when it comes to a business that possibly could do it, sometimes we know there's going to be a heavy load generated from a business. And not saying Nancy Goat, we really, like I said, don't know. That's why you're testing it. But the ability to stop it and prevent it so it doesn't impact makes your plant last longer. It makes the cost stay down. So that's what it's about, having that possible pre-treatment. You're not even close to that. And I don't think that's the issue. It's more of trying to identify it. So the sampling, from what I understand, is just being able to identify, well, is this where it's coming from? And then we can get an idea of what it possibly could be or what events are causing it, because it doesn't seem to be consistent. Like most communities, like maybe the Messler site was more of a consistent discharge that they could treat for. I can tell you right now that milk producing places have sent stuff that obviously needs pre-treatment in some facilities in some communities. So to me, you're still trying to find out what creates those spikes, and you're looking at what could be possibly your largest user, just to find out, well, could it be from that? And if not, guess what? You're still getting those, we call them penalties, but they're really just the extra cost to treat what's being discharged. So I guess I just wanted to clarify a couple things that, although you're saying go ahead and let's have a meeting together, you're gonna find out pretty much the same thing. Is we gotta find out what the source is, what the issue is, and if there's even a pre-treatment possibility, or do we have to do something different at the treatment plant to accept it when we know it's coming, which is fine too.
Right.
It's common to work with businesses or with industries or whatever it is, but it's just some industries have more of an impact on the treatment plant than others.
Right.
One thing I would add, so we did have communication with Steve at the end of last year, so he may see things and he calls us and he asks us, hey, did you guys screw something up? We want to be good stewards of this. We had not gotten a call in May, and we do have that open dialogue with our team. If you guys screw up, we need to know, because we need to tell the village, and we will take responsibility for that. We talked about Steve regenerating the bugs in that system, $600 to $800. We're talking about a testing kit that's $7,000. We can make 12 screw-ups and still pay less money. So I'm just hopeful to have some open dialogue. Joe, we talked, I think on Friday.
Briefly, yeah.
And you mentioned spikes, but there was no further information. From what I got from Steve, it's a spike in ammonia. There's a lot of pools getting drained and filled in May.
There's an ammonizing biofilm in your water.
So I want us to have this open dialogue. I think having Steve from the wastewater center is very important. We want to have a good relationship with him. We want to hold our team accountable. We want to hold our business accountable. So we're open to that, but we're hopeful that there's not an assumption that we're being bad actors.
Okay, thank you. All right, Chris, I'm going to go back to you. Do you hear?
So I'd like to make a
water and sewer?
motion to continue the dialogue on requiring the Dancing Goat Distillery to install and operate a monitoring sampling analysis device incorporating, and I'm talking a little fast, you gotta write this, incorporating COWC within that dialogue. And then once we have that meeting and have our facts straight, maybe incorporating MSA into that dialogue as well, we can present it back to the village board.
I'll second.
It was wordy.
Yeah. Lisa, you got all that?
It's recorded.
Or Tammy?
It's recorded. They can
Yeah.
always
All right, okay.
Just
Put
for
something
our
together.
clarity, we expect communication
No, I'd like to be able to communicate with you.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. All right.
Just
well,
want to
let us know.
say, thank you guys for coming. I in no way, shape, or form think that Dancing Goat is a bad actor. I think it's an unfortunate how it was stated in the meeting minutes. So you guys have done a lot for this community, and I appreciate that, and hope that we can continue to grow a good relationship. Yep, thank you.
All right.
I just want to have it figured out where the spike is coming from. You know, hearing more information that's being said, and the Dancing Goat's been here for several years with a couple of spikes in 6 months. I don't know, I think we need to figure out where it is coming from and not necessarily pinpoint the Dancing Goat.
Good.
Okay. All right. Going to move on. Item G underneath new business, committee assignments, library board. Let's see here. Lisa, anything you want to cover this? You want me to? Okay. First of all, we've got one of our trustees that we had voted in has kind of asked for a reconsideration of this. Todd, you're kind of full up on some stuff. Todd.
That's tough.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, after attending the meeting and seeing how it goes, I do not think I'm the best person to be on that board.
Okay.
So I respectfully withdraw from the village library board.
All right. Well, I'll ask everybody here if there's anybody else. I would like to, I'll start, I'd like to throw my name in for consideration with the library board. I've been involved with the library. I was there with the new facility and helping them to achieve some of their donation goals. I did it personally, and I also went out to visit with people. I've got a strong interest. I love books, and it's a great organization. It's a great resource that we have here, and so I'm going to throw my name in for consideration to be our point of contact. Are there any other trustees that would like to do the same?
I'd be willing to be on the library board. I was a representative, the village representative on the library board in the past. So I would be more than happy to pick that back up and do that again.
Okay, is there anybody else? All right.
And I'm only on 3 other committees, and none of them meet regularly.
Okay, well, there's 2 members here. So what say the others? Do you want to make a motion?
Well, it's 2 motions, right? So we gotta accept your resignation, right?
From the library board.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
from the library.
From the library board. So I'll make a motion to accept Tim Phelps' resignation from the library board.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right,
you're
Tim,
off.
you're off the hook. So the second motion would be, I'd like to make a motion to select Paula Hollenbeck as our representative for the library board.
A second.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
And the reason I Paula is the latter comment she made. She's 3 committees like myself, and they don't meet on a regular basis. So time constraints are not a problem for Paul, whereas you have your hands in a lot of things.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of bringing Paula on as the library board liaison, please signify by saying, let's just go with a show of hands.
Roll call.
Yeah, roll call, whatever. We can do roll call. Roll call, please.
Christ,
Yes.
Phelps,
Two very good candidates. I'm on the fence.
You won't offend me if you say no. It's okay.
I like what Mark said. I also like what you said, but I would right now say no.
Okay.
Breinig,
Yes.
Franklin, Whitmer,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
and McNally.
No, but carries. Well, you're the new representative of the board on the library. Okay. All righty. Let's move on. Items now for unfinished. Fire Commission update. I think this was in the packet, isn't it? There's a meeting tomorrow night, in fact, with the fire and EMS, and this is the agenda, and there's a couple of things on there. One is the name of the EMS, only the EMS service, and then there is another matter to go into closed session, so there is a meeting coming up. And that's all. The meeting hasn't happened yet, and so letting you know. That's tomorrow night.
Am I on that one?
Okay. Now, we're going to go on to item B, review the Fire Commission IGA. And Chris, you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that, and I also, we got this agenda meeting for the meeting tomorrow, and I'm curious, as our representative, Mark, how you'll be voting.
I haven't heard anything about this one.
Because, I would imagine if we got something as large as a name change to our EMS, and I'm not a lawyer here, but I have one by my side here, it does not correspond with what our IGA that we've signed up with. I mean, if we have a name change, can you add some clarification to that, please?
I read through that agenda item a number of times, and reading through the IGA, I believe that it is a name change for the district.
Okay.
The IGA specifies the district. The district is currently called the Cambridge Community Fire and EMS
Mm-hmm.
District. And the name change, as it's described in the agenda, is it's renaming the EMS service. It's also renaming the district.
Yep.
Okay.
That's how I read it.
And the name is specified in the IGA, and so I do believe it would require a vote of the municipalities, as with any change to the IGA. So it could be that, maybe the agenda item was just posted imprecisely, and maybe it's a recommendation to approve a new name for the commission, because I do think it would require a vote of the municipalities.
Okay.
And, if that is the case, then I would like to make a motion that our representative vote in the negative on the name change of the Glacial Lakes Fire and EMS District.
I second that.
And for conversation purposes, that the reasoning is that it's counteractive to what our IGA states.
You can't. You guys can't change, the commission cannot change the name themselves without it going to all 5 municipalities.
And this particular vote that we would have right now just lends you clarity on how your board feels when you go there, so you have some clarification on a way forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far as I know, the reason this had come up is because in an effort to try to spread the cost out to neighboring municipalities, specifically the town of Lake Mills. If you're going to bring the entire town in and not just a small portion, I think it's like 8%, you're bringing the entire town in, you're no longer than just Cambridge.
It's Cambridge area.
And it's not the fire department, it's just the EMS, and it was thought that this would be something that would be seen as more in, I don't know, together, and not just Cambridge.
Has this name change already been implemented?
No, not that I'm aware of.
But it does say in here the district, that the district name will change, not the EMS. The other question I had is we're growing within the state of Wisconsin and Jefferson, but that too has not been brought before the 5 communities.
And there was a Town of Milford board minutes on May 11th that referenced the glacial name when it was talking about the Cambridge EMS. I didn't even know they were negotiating with Milford. But they were, and they were referenced as the glacier in the meeting minutes back in May.
Okay. Well, I can, tonight or tomorrow night, when I'm at the meeting.
Well, we have a motion and a second, right? So how do you want to go about it? Do you want to do a roll call, or is there any more discussion on this particular?
That's what I was going to call for.
Questions, concerns from any other board members? I mean, what's the end game with the name change? Do we know?
You know, again, I think it's going to have to come back to all 5 municipalities. So this is the first step. I thought it was just for the EMS in their discussions with the town of Lake Mills. And I'll get more information tomorrow night to bring that back. But at this point, if that's how you feel, that we want to keep the Cambridge area, we do. I just don't know.
But wait, the motion isn't necessarily that you want to vote now on, you're not expressing your vote on the name change, you're just expressing that the belief that it would have to come to the municipalities, or that Mark would say that,
I'm
right?
expressing that I would like our representative to vote in the negative on the name change.
Okay.
Yeah, but if I vote in the negative, that will be I'm just going to take one step forward. 1 negative, and there would be 4 positive, so it could carry.
You represent Cambridge, though.
I get that, but they can do what they want. Unless you come
control
back,
the other municipalities.
No, I know that, Chris.
But you would be representing what, if this board approves this motion, you would be representing what this board wants, which is what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be doing your own interests when you're on that board. You're supposed to be representing the interests of this board.
I understand that.
Okay.
And we
So that's all we're asking.
understand that you could get outvoted.
That's what my point is.
And the concern, my first concern when I saw that motion was if they go ahead and vote to change the name, does that make our intergovernmental agreement null and void, because nowhere in our IGA does it address the Glacial Lakes Fire EMS District?
Right.
It addresses, so is the IGA
If that
a
name
useless piece of paper?
Right.
Yeah.
And how are the finances then,
Yeah, there's all kinds of a chain reaction that goes into play if that IGA comes up null and void.
Or are they intending to enter into these reciprocal agreements as another entity? Maybe that's the intention, outside of our intergovernmental agreement.
Can that be legal?
I mean, they can, the commission can enter into reciprocal agreements.
No, they
if it
can't.
doesn't create costs for us.
Okay. But wouldn't that be creating a separate contract?
Yes, yes.
And they can't enter into contracts
Well,
without our approval.
Without municipal
What
approval.
they can do is enter into reciprocal agreements with other governmental units and municipalities for the purpose of assisting in larger fires, incidents, and other situations. So they have that authority without the municipal approval.
But that's
Is
for-
that
for-
more mutual aid?
That's
for
mutual-
larger?
That's
not-
mutual aid.
Not
that's
for
not
everyday
right.
call
That's not
pay
what
basis.
they're doing.
And entering to such intergovernmental agreements deemed necessary for the district's efficient operation which are not inconsistent with this agreement. Right, I'm just saying there are some agreements that they could enter into without the municipality's approval if they stay within those confines. I'm not giving
No,
an
no, I get that,
opinion on
I
the
get that.
larger.
I get that,
on
but
the
I don't
larger
see how
issue.
them entering into under a separate, creating a separate entity to create, I get this, to create, to be able to then serve another, is in an efficient operation of, which was the second thing we were talking about. I think it's still
Agreed.
in violation.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I was only suggesting that that may be what they're thinking.
I doubt that's what they're thinking, but you have given that commission a much better benefit of the doubt than I do.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Jane. I don't give them that benefit of the doubt. I don't know what they're doing, but I just don't think it's in the best interest of the village of Cambridge.
So if they create another entity.
Well,
let's just say-
I won't agree with that. You may have a difference of opinion as to what is in the best interest regarding the community. But to say that, what they're doing is not in the best interest is a blanket statement. I can't accept that.
Changing the name of the unit, I think, is not in the best interest of the village of Cambridge, because I think it's really important that, I love the fact that Cambridge is on, and that Cambridge is represented, and that it's the Cambridge community, which is the same library. The library, it's the Cambridge Community Library. It isn't just Cambridge, it's all the municipalities, in a sense, that use that Cambridge. It's the same thing to me.
And all our representatives signed this IGA, and it's good until August 22nd, 2028. So, and that is, under the...
Well, we're going to continue to have discussions, and I'm listening to this, but I'll just say this. We have complained, we heard it earlier tonight, about the costs associated with fire and EMS, not just EMS, not just fire, the complete cost. And I get this every year. Then when the commission starts to look at this and ask themselves, what can be done? And one of the strategies is, well, maybe we want to provide this to other municipalities or expand what we're offering in other municipalities so that we have more revenues coming in. That helps us with that cost issue.
But
And
you
that's all
tell me
fine,
how
as long
that's
as other municipalities sign off on it.
And show me
Yeah.
the cost-benefit analysis. You tell me how many runs they're going to have to go on in order to benefit the cost of a third ambulance and the staffing of a third ambulance.
And a chase
How-
vehicle.
So I just don't understand. I don't think the commission has said, yes, these are the additional costs and these are where we're going to get the savings. I haven't seen that. And if you're not doing that cost-benefit analysis, then I think you are doing a disservice to all 5 municipalities.
I think we've started to stray from the topic at hand.
But-
Thank you.
As the administrator, like I said, my concern is,
We shouldn't be.
if the name is changed, does it nullify our current IGA? What
what do
is
you-
the status of our IGA?
Right. And it's your professional opinion that it would?
Well, that we have an agreement that would require our vote, a vote of all the municipalities to do that in the first place.
Can I ask a question? So in Mark's situation where he said if you're instructing him to vote no and the other 4 vote yes, are the other municipalities, are they not under a breach of contract? And could there be some type of recourse for breaching a contract that's in place? Because it clearly states all 5 municipalities have to approve any amendments to the IGA, which changing the name of the fire district is an amendment to the existing IGA that does not expire until 2028.
That's a very good point. And I would have to agree with you, but all that we can control on our board is what our representative brings to the plate at the meeting tomorrow.
So,
I guess my question is, what happens if they do vote? Is there a breach of contract, and then what happens?
Yeah, and that's probably something I wouldn't opine on as
Yeah.
far as it applies to the other municipalities, but,
Right.
but our position is definitely consistent.
so I think
what
what
we
we,
said.
so what the motion is saying is we want Mark to vote no if they come to a vote that says we want to rename it and we think we have the power to do that. Then we would want Mark to vote no in that. But what I would really like Mark to do is to impress upon them that they can't make this change independently, and that they really need to bring this to, if this is what they want to go forward with, they need to get the approvals from all 5 municipalities to make a change in the intergovernmental
There's
agreement.
processes and procedures to
Right,
be followed.
there are processes and procedures for that. So that's what I would hope, Mark, that you do. But in light of, if people ignore that and go forward with a vote anyway, I think I would have to agree with Chris's motion that we would have to vote no on that. We would want you to vote no on that.
And that's with the intention that they're renaming the entire district and not just the EMS
It-
side of
if-
things.
if
It
you-
reads as the district.
It reads as
yes,
the
but
district.
If that was not their intent, if it was just poorly worded, was that?
I would still not want them to rename EMS either. Because we already cover the town of Lake Mills. Granted, it's not all of the town of Lake Mills, but the town of Lake Mills is already included. And the other people that they were talking to have now gone in other directions. So I don't see where they're expanding to.
Okay. Chris, do you want to make a motion, or is this just?
I did make a motion, and it was seconded.
Okay.
So it's
Can you repeat the motion here, please?
Motion that a representative for the village vote no to EMS district name change.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Carries.
all right. And the second part of my review is just going through the IGA, which is our document that we have on file. There's some questions I have about, and this, you know, it's fortuitous that you have the meeting tomorrow, because you can bring up these administrative requirements that are listed
Well,
in
I
the
don't know if I
IGA.
can bring them up tomorrow, Chris, because it's not part of the agenda.
All right. Well, you can bring it up in future meetings.
Okay.
Maybe you can have it on a future
right,
agenda
okay.
item. Or,
All right, fine.
the district, which it's called right now, shall provide copies of all the policies to the municipalities when it comes to insurance. I don't believe we have that. The district shall provide copies of any standard operating procedures for the EMS. It states that verbatim in here. And then there's budget parameter dates that need to be met. There is a commission organizational meeting held in May. I don't know if that was held in May. And there's just some, you know, we got budgetary requirements that are coming up here July 1st of each year. An inventory of all trucks, equipment, apparatus, and all other items owned by the district. And that covers both fire and EMS. That's due to the municipalities by July 1st of each year.
Okay.
So I can give you a copy of this.
Yeah, please, because mine is really.
And then I had some questions on the responsibilities of the officers, specifically the treasurers. So Mark, you at this time are a treasurer, and it says in here that you must sign and endorse in the name of the commission all notes, drafts, and other orders for payment. Do you sign the checks for the fire commission, or fire and EMS commission?
No, I do not, and I have already advised Mr. Cook that I am not interested in serving as either secretary or treasurer on a go-forward basis.
Okay.
So,
Isn't that
So
why we
who was
put them on
responsible then before?
you know, we talked this through, and we may end up having to go to an outside service.
Are
'Cause
you
I
with
just-
an outside service right now?
Am I? No.
Is the fire and EMS commission?
No, it hasn't been run any differently than what it has been. So,
Well, I guess
That's
my
not
question
the
was,
question.
who was paying the bills prior to right now?
right now, as far as I know, the bills are being paid, most of them, by Mr. Blount.
But you're the treasurer,
I am
right
the
currently?
treasurer. I am the treasurer. But I am not writing out checks. I am not making deposits. I am not looking at corroborating information.
The IGA says that checks have to be signed by two people, the president
It states in here specifically.
Drafts and so on, it says they have to be signed by 2 people,
Right.
the president and the treasurer.
All notes, drafts, and other orders for payment of money permitted to be executed by the district and other articles. This is all the duties and responsibility of the treasurer and president.
As far as I know, this has been a continuation of the department with Mr. Bob Saloff when he was heading up the EMS, and with Terry Johnson. Nothing has changed. No, he doesn't, but whatever checks were written before, it's the way it's been continued on. Okay, then I don't know who.
So,
All right, we gotta limit the questions and comments from the audience, please.
so, would I ask something about getting the budget and where we are with actual versus where we are today? I think I had asked Lisa to look into that for me, and I believe someone mentioned that we don't have that information, we have to go to the bookkeeper in Ohio.
Right.
The first response I got was, Mark McNally is the treasurer, he should be able to give you that information. The second response was, we'll be getting an update in July for our quarterly, and I said, please provide me with that. I have received phone calls from the bookkeeper saying, can we get copies of water bills? I'm not getting them in timely manners, and looking back, you know, water bills have been late, receiving late fees, and, you know, she's like, I need to get the bills to pay them, and isn't receiving them, you know, so.
I mean, why do we have a bookkeeper in Ohio doing it? Why wouldn't we have someone local who then can actually get the bills?
We had tried to get a local accountant, and we had gone to, they're up the street. Drew's. And they could only do it up until the first of the year. And the reason is because they're primarily tax.
But
What?
kind of to Chris's point,
You're
the
supposed to be doing it.
IGA does not say an outside source or an
Correct.
employee of the EMS or the fire department shall be carrying out these services.
So our budget dollars are being spent on, I mean, where in your budget is that even approved?
It doesn't say that you can delegate those responsibilities to a bookkeeper in Ohio. If we go by the context of what we have on file right now.
I don't know. All I know is that it's been run this way, and I have been there for some loans at the bank to sign off on those, and that's been it. And I am not about to be in there. I never would have accepted it as if I'm going to have to be the person who's got to make deposits on all of the invoicing, ensure that the invoicing is done, ensure that the payments are being paid, and code it to the right accounts. That's a full-time job. Not going to do it.
Well, we're not arguing that, but perhaps you need to let the board know now that they're in violation of the IGA, and whatever they have in place isn't what it's supposed to be.
Well, I have brought this to Mr. Cook's attention, and
And
There's
nothing's
been
going
an
to
open records request, and Mr. Blount responded back to this open records request on what bills were paid, and we noticed that his is the only signature on that. So you're spot on with the fact that he's signing checks, which is counteractive to what it states in the IGA. But the real issue is there's late fees galore on these checks that are being paid to, this was just one instance, to legal representation. So not only are we paying, you know,
this is news to me. I didn't know
but
this.
you're the treasurer, that's the problem I'm having.
Chris, I don't look at every single piece of paper that comes into the EMS.
Is somebody on the commission overseeing it, though?
Right.
Does
Well-
somebody on the commission?
It's not me.
Okay.
I
Then
can't
is the
say
commission
that.
as a whole doing it?
Is Mark Cook doing it?
I mean, it's-
No, he's not, you know.
So there's a real concern that the EMS Commission is not doing their due diligence when it comes to being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars that they've been given. Because no one can tell us where the money's going, and we're paying late fees on bills we are paying.
Well, I'm not aware that.
I will say, when the bookkeeper looked on the water and sewer bills, between the 3 bills of the most recent 32 bills, 13 of them were late and had late fees just at the water, Cambridge Water. You had asked for information. When I found it, it was us that realized we didn't pay our 4th quarter last year. We paid it to last board meeting.
Right.
9 months late. Did the fire commission not know that we didn't pay? Nobody reached out and said we didn't receive the 4th quarter,
Have the other municipalities not paid because they didn't get a bill? I mean, what, do we know?
The other municipalities, and I'm not going to say who, but there was one municipality that was, they did not have the money at the time. I have called this municipality, and I have talked with them about this, and they are going to have a special meeting, in fact, this week, and they will be writing checks for the first. They missed 2 payments, for the beginning of the year, because they're supposed to be paying in advance, and they haven't. It's not a very, it's not a significant amount, but it did happen.
But ours was a significant
I know,
amount,
ours
and
was.
nobody.
I know, and that's when I asked you if we were current, and
No, you asked for some background on what we've paid current years, and that's where I found that saying it looks like 4th quarter last year we did not pay.
and we thought that that might have been because we may have gotten the invoicing, and it's just, we had a personnel problem, a complication at the beginning of the year. And
It was
we
due
just
in
don't know.
October of
Who's
last year.
doing the
though.
invoicing?
I don't know.
Well, that's it.
I don't know.
Do you not know that,
I
Mark?
don't know. I don't know who's doing the invoicing.
But Mark, as a representative, you don't think that's odd that you don't know how any of the financials are being handled at the fire and EMS?
Paula, I have made it clear, I am not about to go
No.
in there and start to say, okay, because I'm the treasurer, I'll do the invoicing, I'll do the payroll.
That's not what I
Wait,
asked.
wait, no, you
But that's
just
not
did.
what I asked.
You just asked me who's doing the invoicing, and I'm telling you it's not me.
But is there oversight?
I'm asking, aren't you concerned that you don't know who is? That's my question.
I think the invoicing was done. I just don't think it was acted upon, or the delinquencies were ascertained. I think there was invoicing that was done, yes.
I think we need to have Mr. Cook sit right here and tell us and open the book.
Well, you can go to the meeting tomorrow. You can ask him there.
Am I allowed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. I mean, it's
They have open session, and they're going to go into closed, so.
What time is that?
6:30.
At the firehouse?
No, Town Christiana.
Yeah, they don't have any public comment on their agenda. But
Mark, you can understand my frustration, right? I can't speak for the rest of the board, but my frustration is that I think treasurer, and you're my point person. You're my point person when it comes to money, when it comes to the Fire and EMS Commission. And it's not me picking on you or being undiplomatic or anything like that. It's a matter of, in my mind, if you're the treasurer, you're the person I go to when if there's financial questions.
And the big thing you said, when I put up the motion to have you not be on the fire and EMS, was I need to be there because I'm the treasurer and there's some stuff going on and I can be on top of it. That is what you told this board. And now you're saying you're stepping down from treasurer?
Yes.
I mean, the reason this board agreed to have you still stay on it was because you were in that position and you said you needed to be.
Yeah. I can be on it, but I am not going to be going ahead and doing what the IGA is calling for.
But
I will
that's-
tell you, no, I
Then
will
don't be
not.
on it. If you
Th- well,
can't
then I
abide
will-
by what your role should be when
I
you're
can go
on
ahead,
it.
I can resign as the secretary treasurer, Paula. I can still be on the board.
Do
or
any
the
of you guys
commission.
have confidence in you still being on this board?
Okay,
I,
I'm going to stop here.
well, and again, I'm just saying from process and procedure as a clerk, the fire commission is asking us to make changes to the IGA. I think one of the points Chris is trying to make is there's so many things within here that are not being carried
not-
out.
Right.
You know, I guess I didn't realize you were the secretary, because in here it does say the secretary prepares and causes all posted notices. You don't do that either.
No.
Or to
I have-
be the open records, the custodian of all records, you know. So many things within this agreement are not being carried out. We've asked in the past, you know, the budget stuff, the timelines, the things that aren't being carried out. You know, the process and procedures is my bailiwick that I, you know.
Right,
So
and we
it's-
can't control the other municipalities, but we can control with how we act within our municipality and how we want to go and abide by the document on record right now, which is the IGA. Now, it hasn't been changed yet. That's why I'm doing a deep dive into this and seeing what we're doing and not doing, and having discussions with Lisa. Do we have a copy of all the tax or the insurance records and whatnot? Let's make sure that
And the
we are
equipment,
doing
yeah.
our due diligence with the existing document before we try to make any changes.
And, I mean, we asked for the insurance stuff, I thought in that letter that we wrote way back in October, I
Equalized
thought,
value
asking
questions were asked.
for those.
But
And
No
we never
response?
received a response.
we
to
got
that,
no
did we?
response.
No formal response.
So,
All right.
Can I say something?
yeah.
I know I'm fairly new as your treasurer,
Mm.
but I've kind of gone through the IGA myself
Mm.
and highlighted many areas that give me concern, especially with beginning to budget and beginning with the budget coming up, and a lot of different types of budget items that are in here and how they're supposed to be handled, and just things I've heard from past, how, you know, things are handled, the purchase of a home, all of these kind of things are just, to me, extreme red flags that this is the taxpayer money we're giving them. And it's our responsibility as the village to make sure that our residents have confidence in the decisions that we're making as a village board pertaining to this.
Right.
I don't live in the village, but I have been involved with our fire EMS department in my previous job, and we followed that IGA to a T. I mean, I was telling Lisa today, we had district meetings 2, sometimes 3 times a year when decisions needed to be made. All the districts are there. They'll go into their own little quorums, decide what they want to do, and then come out and they'll vote. You know, with the Fire and EMS Commission right there. And the Fire and EMS Commission, they represent the municipalities, period. And that's, you know, so when I read through this and then hear kind of what's going on, it's alarming to me. It's like, what's, you know, municipalities, the residents that are paying taxes need to know that this is being followed unless it's changed. I mean, I'm concerned.
And it seems to me that the EMS Commission, perhaps, instead of worrying about how the fire department is running their constitutional department, maybe they should get their own ducks in a row before they start looking at other people, because obviously the Fire and EMS Commission has not been abiding by the intergovernmental agreement. I'm going to stop here.
I think I understand what Chris is getting at for tomorrow night's meeting. It's at 6:30. I appreciate the comments, and I will be bringing it to their attention, the full flavor of what it is that you're telling me here this evening. And after that, I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, because Mark and we're talking about it, and as far as this financial stuff, I do not have the time to get in there and to be invoicing, to be collecting, to be coding and cross-referencing and looking at the statements. I cannot do that. And that's a decision that has been made in the last, I want to say, 30 days. Who's going to do it? I don't know, and that's what we're talking about. And so there's where we're at. But I can talk to him as far as whether or not this name change is going to be significant enough that it violates the letter of the law, or at least the spirit of the IGA. And that that my board does not support that, if that's where we're at.
And yeah, your board doesn't, but your board also thinks it does violate the IGA if they change the name.
Okay, is that what, we have a motion and a second? All right, can you repeat the?
You already
We already
vote on it.
We already voted.
Voted on it, okay.
It was
Oh,
unanimous.
that's right, it passed
This was
unanimously.
the second thing that Chris
Yeah.
brought up,
Okay.
being concerned about a
All right.
number of
And
other
then-
items in.
And then second
So
one,
Jane,
you're gonna get this to me as far
do
as.
we have any recourse? I mean, because quite frankly, I have no confidence in the current fire and EMS, members of the current fire and EMS commission. So what can we do? Because none of them seem to be worried about, and maybe some are, but from what I hear, Mark Cook is not concerned about following the IGA, and I'm not quite sure Mark McNally is concerned about following the IGA, because they haven't been. So what recourse do we have against those representatives?
So, for example, if we believe that, and this would be an amendment, the name change would be an amendment. An amendment to this agreement shall require a majority vote of all commissioners, supported by a certified copy of a resolution adopted by each municipality. If we believe that they're not following, the commission isn't following this or any other requirement in the IGA, what we have said in the dispute resolution clause of the IGA is that if any municipality has a dispute concerning any of the matters in this agreement, it shall first seek to have the matter resolved informally by providing the other parties with written notice of the nature of the dispute.
We've done that
So
already.
we could do that, and we could do that
Again.
something similar to the letter that we did a while back, but we would state this new concern, maybe others if you have them. And then if informal resolution is not reached within 60 days, we would agree to mediate the dispute, is what we say in the IGA. It escalates from there, mediation, arbitration.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to move on, but if it's a short question here. Okay.
So you had indicated that you didn't want to go in and do coding and everything?
Yes.
It's my understanding that the EMS has a service that takes care of all of that, but they don't do any billing for the actual service, that's hired out.
I don't.
It is.
There might be somebody that's doing their invoicing, but I also know that they've got somebody else that's doing their payments.
Is it just for calls? Is it billing calls? Is it?
Usually EMS
Yeah.
billing is done with a service for
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah.
But all the other billing.
So do we want to add to this letter and put a date on it when we want a response by?
Yeah, can we revise that letter and say, we haven't gotten any response from this, which is beyond the 60 days, that maybe we should go into mediation about it? And I don't know if there's anything mediatable in that first stuff, but I think the concerns about the role of the secretary, the role of the treasurer, as it's written out in the IJ, is obviously not being followed.
Copies.
Right, copies of
policies,
policies.
SOPs.
I mean, there's a number of things, the budgeting timeline that aren't being followed. I think we need to take that to the commission. I think we need to expand on the letter and say, oh, and by the way, here are the old things and here are all the new things.
And I can get a date with like response by, have something in there.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it open-ended.
This revised letter that you're speaking of, does that go out to the other 4 municipalities or 5 that we cover?
We CC'd them the last time, right?
So everybody is on the same sheet of music to understand everything? I'm just asking.
I don't believe our last letter was never on a commission agenda.
Right.
I don't believe.
So we could explicitly ask that this time
That
if
it
we
be
wanted.
placed on an agenda, because
It
we
needs to be
did it, but I don't think the commission ever discussed it.
And is it your request that I would just write it based on the concerns that we've already shared tonight, plus the last letter's concerns, as
Yeah.
opposed to having this be a new agenda item for us later to
No,
come up with
I would say move forward with it, and if
expand.
anybody, I mean, read the IGA, if you've got anything else you've got concerns about, get it over to Jane in the next couple days, and she can add that to the letter as well.
So we're still at the informal dispute resolution stage?
Yep,
Okay.
because
But
we have to
then-
tell them what our disputes are. Well,
But we've already.
I mean, we
done the
passed
60
that
days.
for the original ones, but now we've got additional ones.
Right. And then they have 60 days from that, so that delineates your date requirement.
All right. Okay. All right, moving on. Correspondence. We've got a couple items here. Recycling grant. Anything on this one, Lisa?
Nope, just noticed that we did receive the recycling grant in the amount of $3,952.32.
Okay.
And that covers just a little bit of our, of what we pay for trash and recycling.
All right. Okay, next item is the municipal aid increase.
And that's what we did mention earlier, the
108,000.
98% increase that we'll be receiving.
That was good news. Do we have anything in, that we can spend that on in our capital improvement plan? I mean, I'm thinking of all the equipment that Todd has talked about
Yeah.
needing to have updated, and I'm like, well, that extra money might pay for one thing he might need.
They help, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so as we start the budget discussions, we'll
take a look at where we can spend
see
some money.
where.
Okay. All right. Skipping into item 11. Questions, referrals to staff, future agenda items. We still have LBK Park.
Yep.
All right. At the next, well, not the, yeah, the next meeting in July, I've asked a couple of the officials with CART to come in and give us an update on what they're doing. Since we help with some of their underwriting.
CART is what, sir?
Cambridge Area Resource
Resource Team.
Team.
Oh.
So it's just, I think, good to hear from people that we're helping to support here. Is there anybody else that's got, or any other trustees want referrals to staff, future agenda items?
Do not have anything at this time.
We have a couple things we're working on that we'll be bringing forward, but,
Okay.
I think it would be probably pertinent to have something on for a future agenda item on what happens in the meeting that's going on tomorrow with the
Well,
Fire and EMS Commission.
You'll hear about it in 2 weeks.
Right, I just think it needs to be an agenda item so we can hear about it.
Well, it's a standing one for me, Fire Commission update as far as, you know, give you a report on the last meeting.
Okay.
Have nothing new there. Okay, we're going to look at item 12. Anybody want to take this one on, read this?
I can.
Go ahead.
Hey, Tim.
Yay. So I make a motion that we convene into closed session per 19.85 parentheses